Hey guys, welcome to the Hungry Herbivore podcast. I am your host, the Hungry Herbivore. Glad you're with us for another week. And I know that I said last time that this would be a weekly podcast, which it will be. But I have to apologize because podcast number 2 has taken me just a little bit longer to produce. And the reason is because I wanted to share with you a new treatment that I'm receiving for my optic neuritis. Now, if you're just joining us for podcast number 2, let's back up just a little bit and explain to you why the Hungry Herbivore podcast came to be in the first place. Last summer, I was diagnosed with optic neuritis, and that is just a very blanket term doctors give you when they have no idea what the hell's wrong with you when it comes to your vision. So basically what happened, my optic nerve, which is the nerve that connects your eyeball to your brain, that nerve on the right side of my head became inflamed. And unfortunately, the inflammation caused blindness in my right eye. Doctors couldn't figure out why it happened. There was no underlying illness. All the tests came back normal. It's a fluke thing, apparently. It just happened. And I'm slowly regaining that vision in my right eye, but I am doing it by myself. I'm looking to alternative practices, alternative medicines, one of which is nutrition, and that's why I became vegan. So I feel that it's important to share with you not only the journey of me being vegan and stumbling through making these plant-based recipes, but also sharing with you my health overall, and more specifically, the changes that may or may not come in my right eye. So that health crisis last summer, when I lost vision in my right eye, that was the foundation in my decision to become vegan. And in an effort to regain my sight, I'm focusing on nutrition, I'm focusing on meditation, and now I'm focusing on acupuncture. It's weird how quickly I become somebody else, because last year at this time, I never would have guessed. Well, first of all, I never would have guessed that I would lose vision in my right eye, but I never would have guessed that I would be vegan. I never would have guessed that I would see a massage therapist on a monthly basis. And people may laugh at that, like, you don't need that. You kind of do. The older I get, the more I realize I got to take care of myself. And I never would have guessed that I would be getting adjusted every week, seeing my chiropractor every week. I never would have thought that I would be meditating on a regular basis. I never would have thought of receiving acupuncture treatments. But here I am. The idea of acupuncture treatment came from my chiropractor. She said that acupuncture could open up the flow of energy in my body and help heal the nerves in my eye. Now, the experts, the doctors that I've seen, have told me that there is some irreversible damage to my optic nerve, and there is some sight that I will never get back. But I'm not choosing to believe them. I'm choosing to believe that I can heal myself. So I began the acupuncture treatment about 2 weeks ago, getting treatments twice a week, thinking I have nothing to lose because I don't. I've been told that acupuncture is supposed to be relaxing, which I don't know how. I mean, there's needles sticking out of my legs, my arms, my face, around my eye, my head, my ears. I bleed. It doesn't hurt, but it certainly is not relaxing, for me anyway. And the first couple of treatments, I didn't really feel anything. I didn't really notice any kind of changes. But last week, I think it was after my 4th treatment, I started feeling tingly in my legs. And I started feeling very, in the core portion of my body, very open, very clear, unobstructed, like the wind could blow right through me. And I noticed after that 4th treatment of acupuncture with my eye, I noticed that I could see color again. I could see blues and greens and distinguish between them, I could see orange and yellow. Before, it was all very cold. Color was cold. It was dark. I could tell the difference between a light color and a dark color, but I couldn't tell you which color I was looking at. Now, is that because of the acupuncture? I don't know. Is it because I want to believe that the acupuncture is working? Maybe. I don't know. But does it matter? I mean, if I'm going to heal myself, my mind is going to do it, right? So why not provide my mind the tools it needs to heal my body? So that's where we are. I think I'm at my 5th treatment this week of acupuncture, and I will continue it at least for the next couple of months. So in our first episode, I said that we are going to make a vegan meal, which was the very first meal that I ever made, and even before I became vegan, because I made this in early of 2019, and I made this because I was on a special, I think it was like a 15-day diet, where I just ate vegetables for breakfast, a snack, lunch, dinner. I ate vegetables all the freaking time, and I drank water, and that was it. That's all I had. And it was horrible. It was absolutely freaking horrible. Horrible. And by day, 5, day 5, I was so freaking hungry. I was an emotional wreck. I was in despair. I was so freaking hungry. And so I didn't want to break my diet. So I went online and I Googled vegan meals. And this recipe for Portabella Steaks came up. And then I'm like, okay, well, that sounds good, but I'm going to need something else because Mama is hungry. So I Googled some potatoes, like sweet potatoes, and I found this recipe for sweet potatoes. So that's what we're going to make. We're going to make Portabella steaks and sweet potatoes, and we're going to have a side salad. Now, here's what you're going to need.
What you need?
You're going to need 4 portobello mushrooms, and that comes to $5.76. You're going to need a bag of sweet potatoes, and that's $3.44. You're going to need minced garlic, and I typically get the minced garlic in the produce section of the big store. It's so much easier than getting garlic cloves and crushing them, and that comes to $2.48. You're going to need olive oil, which is $4.76, salt, $3.98, steak seasoning, and I like the McCormick Montreal steak seasoning, but you can use whatever you want. It's $3.96. Balsamic vinegar, $5.78, and a bag of salad. Now, down the road, we're going to make salad, but for this first recipe, we're going to ease you into it. So just get a bag of salad. Try not to get the iceberg lettuce because there is absolutely no nutritional value in iceberg lettuce. So get a bag of salad, $3.84, and salad dressing, if you're into that, $3.84. Now, the grand total is $37.84. Remember when I said transitioning to vegan meals is expensive? Well, this is an example of that. But many of these items you're going to use again and again for other meals. And some of these items you may already have in your pantry. So let's look at the cost of items that you're going to use for this meal only. The salad, the mushrooms, and the potatoes. Grand total, $13.04. You would spend more money going through Taco Bell on your way home. So don't let the initial costs deter you. Eating plants is less expensive than eating meat and dairy. All right, let's get cooking. First, preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Now, this recipe is supposed to feed 4 people, and in my experience, this recipe will feed 2 adults. So typically, if I'm feeding my family of 4, which is 2 adults and 2 teenagers, I need to double this recipe. But for the purpose of this podcast, we'll make the single batch. So get out 4 sweet potatoes, 4 portobello mushrooms, your cutting board, and your chopping knife. You'll need your minced garlic, olive oil, steak seasoning, balsamic vinegar, and salt. That's what you're going to need for this recipe. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this in the first podcast, but if you're going to follow these recipes and you're going to make these recipes on a weekly basis with me, you're going to need a good chopping knife, something that is sturdy and heavy and sharp. A good chopping knife and a good cutting board, because we're going to be chopping up a lot of vegetables. So next, get out 2 pans that you can shove in the oven. One pan will have the potatoes on it, and the other pan will have the mushrooms on it. So make sure that you get pans that are big enough for each. Next, take your olive oil and a paper towel and smear some oil on the pan that you're going to use to bake your potatoes, because the potatoes will stick if you don't grease up that pan. Next, we're going to chop up the sweet potatoes. You're going to cut the potatoes in half the long way. Okay? Once you cut them the long way, take each half and cut it again the long way until you have 4. Now, dice them up. And make sure when you're dicing the potatoes that the bits are roughly the same size, because smaller bits will cook faster and burn, okay? So once you dice up all 4 potatoes, you can put them on your greased pan. If you want more taters, go for it, man. Dice them up and throw them on the pan. It doesn't matter. This is food. It's not rocket science. Whatever you want. You want more taters? Go ahead. Throw them on the pan. Next, we're going to make our topping for the potatoes. Now you're going to want to get out a bowl, and if you have a cereal bowl, it's fine. The original recipe calls for butter. And you can use butter if you have it. And I'll say this, butter makes the sweet potatoes more savory and just a little bit more delicious. And I know it's not 100% vegan, but it's an option. If you want to do that, go ahead. But if you don't want to use butter, you can use olive oil. So in the bowl, you'll want 3 tablespoons of melted butter or olive oil, 4 cloves of crushed garlic. Now, if you got the minced garlic found in the produce section of the big store, look closely at that label because a half a teaspoon of that minced garlic equals 1 clove, okay? FYI. So 4 cloves of minced or crushed garlic and 3 tablespoons of olive oil or melted butter. Now you're going to want to take a pastry brush, if you have it, or something else that you can use to spread the mixture in the bowl all over the potatoes. If you feel like you could use more mixture over your potatoes, go ahead and make another batch. Just do it. It's delicious. Lather up those taters. Once you're done with that, sprinkle some salt over the potatoes. And I like sea salt, but you can use whatever you have. Put the sweet potatoes to the side, and now let's focus on the mushrooms. So take out 4 mushrooms and wash the dirt off. And then you're going to want to pluck the stem off. Place the mushrooms top up on your pan. Okay? Top up in the pan. Next, get out another bowl. Another cereal bowl is fine. And you're going to want 1/4 cup of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, and 2 tablespoons of steak seasoning. Mix it all up together in that bowl. And then take your pastry brush and lather up the top of the mushrooms with the mixture. When you do that, flip over your mushroom and lather up the bottoms. If you want more mixture, go ahead and make another batch. Now your oven by this time should be at 400 degrees. So you want to place your mushrooms, which have the bottoms up, in your pan, and the sweet potatoes, and put them in the oven for 30 minutes. Now here is the very most important part of the recipe. While you have the potatoes and the mushrooms in the oven, make yourself a cocktail. Sip and enjoy for the next 30 minutes. When time's up, get out your salad and your dressing and plate your mushrooms and your sweet potatoes and enjoy. And there it is, your very first vegan or almost vegan meal. It's super easy, super delicious, and super healthy. This recipe I'm going to give 4 chomps. Now, coming up next week, I have so many recipes. What am I going to share with you next week? I got to tell you, there are a lot of recipes with portabella mushrooms, and I don't want to go through all those right off the bat. So I think next week, we're going to make wild rice soup. It is so freaking good. Thanks for tuning in to The Hungry Herbivore. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, have any recipes you would like to share with me, go ahead and email me, thehungryherbivorepodcast@gmail.com. thehungryherbivorepodcast@gmail.com. And until next week, here's wishing you delicious eats.
Hey, it's your good pal Broccoli. You know me. You see me in the grocery store all the time, but you just walk right by, don't you? Well, I see you too, you know. Yeah, I see you pushing me around on the plate with your fork, never once trying me. I see you trying to feed me to the dog under the table. So embarrassing. You know, you'd better think twice about me. Sure, I may have a strange flower for a head, and I'm a little thick in the stalk, but so what? What you don't know is that I'm bursting with fiber. When you eat me, you'll feel full, and I'm packed with all the nutrients your stupid face needs. Like vitamin C, vitamin K, iron, potassium, and you know what? I also have protein, bitches. Yeah, go ahead and believe the lie of meat being the only source for protein. It's fake news. So give me a try the next time you make a salad. You know what a salad is, don't you? So bite me and get healthy. Broccoli out.